Good morning, YouTube, and today I'll be profiling my final Dragunity deck profile. This is a deck that I've loved and whatnot, and I'll just go right into it, and I'll explain a little bit more of my reasoning behind it. But let's get into the deck profile. Alright, starting out with our monsters, we have one Armor Dragon, Dragunity Armor Leviathan. This card is even more powerful nowadays with Dragon Buster Sword. I'll show you later on. But he's a big beater. Most people don't run him because he doesn't make your plays go off, but I like him especially because he's an instant Leo. He's really good and just a pretty decent beater, in my opinion. I run a Dragunity Primus Plus, Primus Pilus, excuse me, and I've always liked him because he searches through your deck to equip with so you can go for your Phalanx, or you can go for my personal favorite Brandy Stock. But he's just an instant 5 or an instant rank 7, and so that's why I've always liked him. I mean, he's a little bit slower, but I like him. 2 Armor Dragon Misthalane, because he's an instant 8-star synchro, and yeah, he just makes the deck flow so much more, even in my non-traditional kind of build. I run 3 Dragunity Milotum. Now, she's a bit of an interesting tech in my opinion, or most people's opinion, but what she does is she special summons one monster that's equipped, or that's in the spell and trap card zone, and she special summons it. So it makes you not have to worry about necessarily having Phalanx. And this becomes even more once you include the factor of Lance, which I'll get into here in a little bit. 3 Dragunity Ducks. This is what most people would say probably the biggest engine in the deck. This is equip a Ducks, go into your Vajrayana, then go into whatever you want to. He just makes everything bigger. He automatically comes out if you get him equipped as a 19 beater, and he's just fantastic. Triple Legionnaire. I like him because he may target a face-up monster, but he goes into your 5-star synchro. He's another equipper for Phalanx. Makes Achilles more live in the deck, and I just love him ever since I got him. 1 Branda Stock. This gives you a double tacker, and I've always liked it at 1, and I probably would never take that down. 2 Phalanx. Most people would say 3, but I think all you need is 2, because even if they banish 1, you still got the extra 1. And Achilles. Now, Achilles is fantastic. What he does is you normal summon, then special summon, and equip him with any Dragunity monster. That includes your Leviathan, that includes your Milotum. It gets you into just about any play you want to in terms of synchroing. Also, if he's set while equipped, more off likely than this, if he's destroyed by his effect, popped by his effect, then you get two destructions. I just like him, and this is personally my favorite of the equippers. For the non-Dragunities, I do run a high Dragunity count, but I do run a pretty decently sized non-Dragunity. 1 Windrose. I was trying this a little bit later on. It's interesting, especially in this kind of a back row heavy format. A lot of the people around me don't play heavy back row, so it's not as effective, but I think there's enough graveyard manipulation that I think this is actually pretty decent to run in the main. 2 Mist Valley Falcons. This is great with your Ravine, especially now that you're down to 2, or you can do this. I have several equip cards in here. Even if you have any back row whatsoever, this is live, and it's a 2000 beater, which is in itself not that bad at all. 1 Guru the Rin Spirit. This is great for any synchros, or even an instant rank 4. This is pretty decent in my opinion. You never really use its secondary effect, but he's still his second effect is during your opponent's end phase you swap their battle position, which is good to get over stuff. 1 Dragon Buster Sword. What he does is that while he's equipped to a monster by any means, your opponent cannot special summon from the extra deck. So what this means is that you would bring out your Legionnaire, let's say, or your Leviathan, and then you can equip him with 1 Dragon type monster in your graveyard. So you equip him with Buster Sword, boom, instant 26 beater that cannot be beaten by stuff in the extra deck because your opponent cannot go into it. And so that's why I run that Buster Sword. It's perfect with 1 in my opinion. 1 Cock-a-doodle-doo. This is a really interesting little tech that I threw in. This goes into your rank 4s. It's a Cyber Dragon. It's a tuner, so you can go into your 8-star synchros, or 7, or even a 9 if you felt so bold to tribute it. But it just works fantastic, and it's like I've never found it to be a bad tech. Moving on to our spells, we run 2 Dragon Ravine. Obviously, this is the heart and soul of the deck. I wish it would bring back to 3, but Until then, I have that terraforming just to search it out. This would be swapped out for a Dragunity if this ever does come back to 3. 3, Dragunity Divine Lance. Now, what this made this deck so much more alive. Once this came out, this is what we got instead of the second Ravina. First off, what it does is it equips once per turn a Dragon-type Dragunity monster. So what you can do is you can search your deck for either. You can search for your failings, or you can search for anything. Or you can search for your Acolytes if you equipped it to Milotum, and it just makes him so much more alive. Also, you gain 100 attack boosts for each level of your monster, which is fantastic in itself, and you're unaffected by traps. Now that in all an equip card, I think is fantastic. And this, every time I see this, it's alive. You go into your 6s. You can even equip it to one of your Dragunity Knights. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I wish more people would realize the true potential this card has. Next, I played the Claw of Heremos, which is a very, very strange tech. I personally like it because Black Dragon Sword is just such a fantastic card nowadays. I mean, or not nowadays, just in general. Like with Blue Eye support, even with what you have in your graveyard, it comes out. It makes the Claw of Heremos so much more alive, and you have so many targets in your graveyard. So if you're, let's say, you're running dead, and you just need you just have one of your, I don't know, Mist Valley Falcons on the field. You can play the Claw of Heremos, pitch one of your dragons from your hand to the graveyard, and bring out this sword, and he automatically becomes a 1500 with that. And it just keeps on going up and up. Moving on, I have run Double Dark Hole because I run Raigekis in most of my other decks, and I didn't put it in this one yet. It's fantastic. Even destroying your own monsters isn't even that bad. You just timely play it. That's the way Dark Hole has always been. You just have to figure out what the smart way is to play it. One-dimensional prison because it's fantastic. Bottomless, you know what that does. Stormy Mirror Force, that 2, 1 regular Mirror Force, and Magic Cylinder because I like to run back row. This deck is a little bit slower and not nearly as aggressive, especially in comparison to the way most Dragunity players run it. And so I like to support myself with a heavy back row and leaving my opponent guessing. I do play 1 Following. Let me read you this card's effect. Activate this card by targeting 1 synchro monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects. At the start of the damage step, if it battles a level 5 or higher monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster, and if you do, target synchro monster gains attack equal to the original attack of the destroyed monster until the end of this turn. And then when the monster leaves the field, you destroy this card. This is fantastic. It's not as relevant with your Clear Wing and your Crystal Wing that have been released, but it's still fantastic. Even if you just want to go into your Dragunity monsters, Dragunity Knights, it's good that way. I do run a Torrential Tribute. I just swapped out the sleeves, and I realized I didn't have a 40-second sleeve, so this isn't in a sleeve at the exact moment. But that's it for the 42-card main deck. It's a strange deck, but it seems pretty darn consistent in my testing of it. I run 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon Sword for that Claw of Heremos. Yeah, I explained most of that then. If you don't know what it does, I would look it up if I were you, because it's pretty beastly. For our rank 4s, this is really the only one I run. You could argue about running any different one you want to. I just like 101 the best. He's my favorite rank 4. Now moving on to our Synchros. This is the heart and soul of the deck. 1 Ally of Justice Catastor. Why I have him is for your Legionnaire, because Phalanx. You equip Legionnaire Phalanx, go into instant rank 5. Catastor just gets over so many things. The meta nowadays isn't as afraid of Catastor as it could have been, or used to be, but it's still fantastic, even especially if you're going up Rogue. I run triple Vajrayana. This goes into your rank 8s like none other. Its effect in itself is fantastic. It equips a Dragunity from a graveyard to it, so you could equip a Phalanx and then go into a rank 8, or you could equip an Acolyte Tribute. You get a Destruction, and you get your attack doubled until the end phase. I just thoroughly enjoy that. I don't find it bad at all, in my opinion. I do run 1 Gaydurs. This was the toughest card ever for me to find, because it's only been printed in 1 set. It hasn't been reprinted like Vajrayana. All the other ones are in Hidden Arsenal, so they're not as expensive. What Gaydurs does is he lets you add from your deck to your hand by discarding. So it's another Ravine in one sense, and sets up your plays for the following turn. He's not as powerful as alive as Vajrayana, but he's still a 24 beater, and he's a searcher, which is pretty darn good. I run 2 Gaydurs. This is my this is probably my favorite Dragunity monster. You can banish a winged beast type monster from your graveyard, and he gains that attack. Now, even if you have your Brandis stock, he gets 2 attacks. You can increase it multiple times. Let's say you attack him twice by any means. He gets that boost by each time. You can use him with your Milotum, you can use him with your Cock-a-doodle-doo. You can even use it with your Windrose, any winged beast. And that just makes it so much more powerful, in my opinion, and such an aggressive beater that if you have to go for a rank 6 and that you can't go farther up, this is a fantastic card to go into. 1 Trident. Now, you could probably take this out for a Black Rose. I just tried to run all of them because I thoroughly enjoy each of the Dragunity Knights. This, by tributing X amount of cards, you can send that many cards from your opponent's extra deck to the graveyard, and you yourself get to do that. So that's better than a lot of things that sends to the graveyard. But the problem with this card is that you have to tribute stuff on the field, but usually by that point in time, you either have your combo pieces out, or this is the only card on the field, and you don't want to pitch Ravine, so you have to tribute this in itself, so which is good if you want to get rid of like Cyber Dragon Infinity, or anything else like that, but anything, it's a rank 7 option, if anything. But more than not likely, you're going to go for your Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, which you probably know what that does. I run 1 Dragunity Knight Barak. You can select any number of Dragunity monsters in your graveyard and equip it to him. So that's pretty darn good, in my opinion. But I haven't used them nearly as much, or Stardust, which used to be what the go-to card effect was, as Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. You could probably bump this up to 2. This deck can first turn Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and this is such a great card that if you have a possibility to run 2 and you have that funding and you have it, definitely do it. This deck has become so much more powerful just because of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and I love it. Finally, finishing up our synchros, we have a Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree. I mean, Leo's Leo, and he's what I have for a rank 10, and he's not that bad of an option even for that. Watching my final Dragunity deck profile, I know I stumbled through it a little bit, but it's been it's what got me back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually. When I used to be a 1-card kind of guy, like 1 card of each type in a deck, and once when I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! My friends were like, oh, you gotta bump it up more. I was like, okay. So I brought a structure deck. I bought 2 structure decks of this, and I was like, wow, this is pretty darn good synergy, and it just felt so alive, and I could synchro, which was a new concept for me at the time, and it just became so much alive, and I won our first local tournament with it, and which wasn't that much of a big deal because we were all starting to get back into it at that time, but it's just been a deck very near to me, and I want to pass it on to someone else who can enjoy it just as much as I have. But if I mean, most people would say, you know, synchro, throw in a Tum, throw in Red Eyes Dark Dispel Dragon. Those are fantastic decks, but I'm more of a purist in that sense, so I've always been running Dragunities more for the Dragunity aspect. But in terms of any other decks you want to make, do it. Do it. Take out the Knights, whatever you want. It's so much more of a deck, and I hope somebody else picks it up. Somebody picks it up that can make it come alive and actually make it relevant again. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much and have a great day.